So now what we're gonna do is, without any further ado, I just want to dive into configuring a DNS, right? So we have what we call a DNS, which is a domain name service, right? DNS is mainly used like to resolve domain names into IP addresses. Look, usually it's easy for us human beings like to remember Facebook.com, Twitter.com, but for system, as you all know that the system they use digital language, like they speak on a digital. So now they when we type in facebook.com, they need a system that will they need something to resolve facebook.com into an IP address, right? So that it can understand or convert that into binary and all those things, right? The ones and zeros. So the DNS is just there to resolve domain names into IP addresses, of which that's what the systems will understand and be able to communicate. So for us humans, it's easy for us to just say, okay, if I want to go to Twitter, then I just type in twitter.com. If I want to go to Instagram, instagram.com. Right, that's what we remember. Like we remember the words, the names, rather than like, can you imagine if now you had to in order for you to go to log into Facebook, you will needed to type in an IP address which would be 192, maybe let's say 192.168.10.50, things like that. So it would be difficult for us to remember all the IP addresses of the websites that we have to visit. But if we're using the names, it's easy for your company. You remember your company domain name, your site, you remember. It's easy for you to remember Twitter account and all those things. So in every network, the system needs to have a DNS server, the one that will resolve domain names into IP addresses. So I just want to quickly show you how to configure a DNS server on the packet tracer using this server that we have here. So I'm going to use like a simple topology because I want you to understand the concept, but not the topology that I have. So the concept is, you see, like we have the DNS, as I have explained, that the DNS, the role of a DNS in our network is to resolve domain names into IP addresses. So you can see by default here, the DNS is off. So let me switch it on. And then once it's on, you need to type in the domain name and then type in the IP address of the system that is going to resolve that domain name. So now let me go to a browser and then try to type in cisco.com. Let me say browser in a browser and then type in cisco.com. So you see, it says hostname unresolved. So the system can't resolve that hostname, that domain name, because there is no DNS. DNS is not configured. So there is no device that is responsible for resolving domain names into IP address. So we want to configure this server to be a DNS server so that it can resolve the domain names into an IP address. So let's type in there cisco.com. So we add that information, right, to the domain, adding the domain name to the DNS server. And then which on the address there, you have to type in the IP, the system that is going to resolve that into IP address 10.0.0.6. So here, and then add that domain name into the system. So you can see I have the A record there. A record mainly is for the IPv4 address. There is the IPv4 address for the system that is going to resolve that. And then which system is that? It is this DNS server. So this is the IP address of the DNS server, of this server, right? Let me quickly show you. Let me go back now to the, let's go back to the PC now, and then let me try to retype that again. Cisco com. So now, because we have told this system the domain name of the Cisco, the IP address of the cisco.com, is supposed to be able to resolve that. So that means now we have a DNS server in our network that is resolving domain names into IP addresses. So if it's correctly configured, it's supposed to take us to the website of cisco.com. So you can see, because now we have a DNS server, so now it's able to resolve that and then display the website, the web page, right? You can see now I can browse on this and then I can go back, I can check the copyright information, I can check all that, then go back, I can check images, there's the Cisco images. So I'm browsing this because we have a domain name, we have a DNS server configured, right? And then again, on this packet tracer, what you will need, of which it might be a different concept when you are in a production environment, but now on this server, what you need to do again on the server, let's say you want to add facebook.com, let's say facebook.com, and then you have to type in the IP address of the system that is going to resolve that for us, and then just say add, save that information. Name should not be empty. Okay, we've added that, so we have facebook.com. So you see something, you notice something here. Here's a web browser. So this is similar to any Chrome, to any browser that you have in your computer. So you have maybe Brave browser, you have Chrome browser, you have Mozilla, which is the Firefox, all of the Safari browsers that you use, any browser. So I'm in a browser, and then I type in facebook.com. You see, it returns the page of the Cisco because now I'm not connected to the internet, or I'm just within the packet tracer. So it returns the web page of the Cisco website, right? It was, if I was connected to the internet, if I was on the production environment, it was supposed to resolve or take me directly to the facebook.com page, right? So if I type in any domain that I didn't add to the DNS server, or that I didn't add the information to my server, it will say host unresolved. Let me show you by typing in twitter.com, and then say go. It says host name unresolved. So just because that host name is not inside, it's not typed in here. So the role of a DNS server, in short, is just to resolve domain names into IP addresses. So there is so much information that comes into the DNS, what the A record, all those things. But for now, I just wanted to show you how to configure the DNS server in the packet tracer, of which might be different in a production environment. But in short, this is what the DNS server is used for, to resolve domain names into IP addresses. So thank you guys. See you on my next video.